Hello, Muse. It's me. I think you remember me by this point, right? Look, I have something that is not exactly the easiest thing to talk about today, but I have always have, and always will strive for transparency. Now, I want to preface this by saying that what I want to talk about was not directly in response to something I have published, but it is indirectly a part of my work. And actually not just my work, just life in general. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Writers, actors, directors, musicians, politicians, of course, moms, dads, children, grandmas, drivers. Everyone makes mistakes. Every day we make mistakes. But recently I discovered something about myself that I wanted to share with you in hopes that I could help you, my fellow artists out there, and just people in general, to maybe possibly realize that you're not alone. So I also want to preface this by saying that I am not, I don't, this is really challenging, Muse. Let me just jump in, and I will make notes as I go along. So the other day, I was just walking along minding my own business when I got feedback for Defying Gravity. Now, the feedback came in two forms. The first part was the first beta reader, the only beta reader that has reached out to me yet. So I need people to contact me about this book because I need to move forward. But I also realize that we're in a very strange time and life happens. But anyway, so the beta reader first said, pardon my language, I fucking love this book. She also said that the book helped her get through a rough period. And truth be told, and this is from the heart, that when people tell me that my work helps them get through a rough period of time, that is the best compliment I can get. I have received that compliment on a number of occasions for a number of books from a number of people, and it warms my heart to know that I was able to help someone through a challenging time in their life. So this first beta reader fucking loved this book, and that is great. I'm so happy about that. And this particular beta reader is a very special beta reader. Although I have never met her, she lives on a completely different part of the world, I consider her a friend. We've had a lot of back and forths about books, about music, about all sorts of things, and she's just a wonderful person. And one of the things I really appreciate about her is, even though when I send a book to beta readers for reading, I say, you don't need to worry about grammar, spelling, anything like that. I just need to know if the story works. But she always goes out of her way to point out some of the mistakes I've made. And mostly, 99% of the time, those mistakes are misspelled words, left out words. And in the case of Defying Gravity, there was actually a scene where I had misnamed a character twice. So she pointed those things out. I made the corrections, and the book is better for it. Now, the day after, actually not the day after, the day that I got that feedback from her, I didn't realize what was going on in my head until I had posted something on Facebook. And someone pointed out to me that the article that I posted was old. Now, I usually am really good about vetting articles before I repost them on social media. This one slipped by me. I made a mistake. And then later on that afternoon, I realized that something was weighing on my shoulders and on my chest, and I was feeling rather down. And I thought about it, and I realized what was bothering me, and this is going to sound absolutely absurd. It was bothering me that I sent a manuscript to beta readers that had mistakes in it. Now, the beta readers know that these manuscripts have not been edited, and they're going to have mistakes. I'm not an editor. I'm a writer, not an editor. So I'm going to make mistakes in these books before my editor sees them and can correct them. But for some reason, it was really weighing on me that I sent out a manuscript that had mistakes in it. Because after I finish a manuscript, I go back and I reread it. And I dot my I's and I cross my T's and I make sure that it's in a good shape for the beta readers. And this time around, I thought maybe it wasn't. I made a mistake. And then I realized that that little tiny mistake that I made on Facebook was weighing down on me. And then I gave this a little bit more thought. And I realized, and I started going through my day, and I realized that every little mistake I made, regardless of how big or little or inconsequential it was weighing on me. And all those little teeny tiny mistakes that I had made throughout the day had snowballed into this giant mass of yuck that was weighing on my shoulders and my chest, making me feel like an absolute failure. And then I started thinking. I started going back through my life. And I started realizing that mistakes really add up for me. And I don't just make them and let them go, which is ironic because as an actor, one of the things that I was trained for in graduate school was while you're performing on stage, if you make a mistake, you let it go and you move on. Because if you don't let that mistake go, you're going to make more mistakes because you're going to be thinking about the fact that you screwed up. And that screw up is going to lead to more and more screw ups. And I'm really good at it on stage. I'm really good at when I mess up on stage, I just let it go and I move on until the performance is over. Until that show is done for that evening, then I go, oh my gosh. And all of those mistakes I made, if I made them, which I do, just pummel me. And it hurts. It almost makes it hard to move forward in life because all you're doing is looking backward and realizing all of the mistakes you've made. And as an artist, that can be absolutely crushing. It's one of the reasons, however, why my writing process has evolved in the way it has. 5 years ago, I was just cranking out book after book after book after book. 7 books a year was the most I'd written at one point. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, I'm doing myself a disservice working this fast because I can't give the work the attention and care that it needs. And I was releasing books with just mistake after mistake in them. And every time I would find one in a book that had been published, I would break out in a sweat and I would be desperate to get back into the manuscript and fix it and republish it. And I don't know how I survived that period. And now the process has reached a point where I take my time and I give it the care and feeding that it needs, each work. And by the time I publish it, I feel secure and confident that I have published something that I can be proud of, and I don't have to worry so much that someone's going to find a mistake in it. And if they do find a mistake in it, they're automatically going to look at me as a failure because I do. Because when I make a mistake, I see myself as a failure. Mistakes happen. And they don't always have anything to do with my artistic endeavors. The other day, This is how ludicrous it gets. The other day I was in my bathroom and I have this beautiful not pedestal sink, but it's on this giant countertop, and it's this big porcelain kind of trapezoidal shaped sink, and it's heavy and it's immovable and it's got sharp edges. It's square. It's trapezoidal and then it's square. But I reached over to grab my toothpaste and I nailed one of the edges right here with my arm, with my forearm. I can still feel it. It hurt really bad. And my first thought was, another mistake. I wasn't being careful. And I beat myself up for it. I beat myself up for hurting myself, for making a silly mistake that didn't amount to really anything but maybe a bruise. And I think that was kind of the tipping point for me when I realized that something has to be done here. I have to figure out a way to be able to manage my life and my mistakes and not lose my mind. And so I haven't figured it out just yet. And at my age, I probably should have. But I think I'm starting to realize that there are certain mistakes that we make in life that we just have to give ourselves a pass on. You spill some milk, give yourself a pass. You break a glass, give yourself a pass. You send a manuscript out to beta readers that has mistakes in it, give yourself a pass because it hasn't been edited yet. It's really hard to apply logic and common sense to mistakes that we've made, because all we want to do is berate ourselves for the fact that we made them in the first place. And as artists, it doesn't just affect our minds, it affects our hearts and our souls. It makes us believe that we are an imposter, and you know what happens as an artist when imposter syndrome sets in. Sometimes it is an impossible shadow to get out from under. So you have to stop. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to make mistakes. And I have to be the first person to forgive myself for them. Now, that does not mean in any way, shape, or form that you just willingly accept the fact that you're always going to make mistakes and just let it drive you forward. You've got to, just like me, I know this can be maddening, but I'm always striving for perfection. I'll never reach it, but I'm always striving for it. As an actor, as a writer, as a human being, I strive for perfection, which is really, really hard. You know, when I look in the mirror and I see this goofy mug staring back at me, I'm like, how in the hell? I need to let that go. That's like the first thing I need to let go, because I am filled with imperfections. But as an artist, I can continue to drive and strive for perfection while at the same time accepting the fact that I'm going to make mistakes. And instead of letting those mistakes define me, I let them drive me. I let them be the impetus to help me grow as a person. Because we do grow from our failures. We grow from our mistakes. Except for commas. I don't think I'll ever grow from all of the mistakes I've made with commas. I think I'm going to regress. And my editors are always going to be saying, I told you how to use a comma in this instance, and why are you still making the same mistake? I don't know. It's just like when I tried to take piano lessons after I had tried to teach myself how to play piano, and I could not change the fingerings. I couldn't do it. And I got tired of getting smacked in the knuckles with a ruler, so I said, maybe piano's not for me. Lesson learned. But anyway, if you're an artist, if you're a human being, Know that you're going to make mistakes. And you can approach those mistakes in one of two ways. You can let them crush you, or you can let them push you forward. Be the kind of person that allows your mistakes to push you forward. Learn from them. Evolve because of them. Don't become stagnant. Don't let your mistakes keep you down. Don't let them define you. It's hard. It is really hard. And right now it's really hard because my nose itches and I don't want to scratch it, but I have to. It was driving me crazy. Being an artist is just hard. Those who aren't artists don't get it. They don't understand why it's so hard. But it is on so many levels. And making a mistake as an artist is a 7-layer dip of hurt. Now, I hope that what I have said might, if it doesn't help you, I hope that it at least turns that light bulb on above your head so you can go, aha, I understand what he's talking about. And I too need to figure out a way to deal with my mistakes. Because they're going to happen. As much as we don't want them to, they're going to happen. Sometimes being transparent really, really sucks. But it's okay. It's who I am. And I do it, and I am this way, hopefully, hoping that someone else might learn from, guess what, my mistakes. Anyway, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being a part of my life, because my life just wouldn't be quite as meaningful without it. I love you all. You're my friends. And you, Muse. I'm on to you, Muse. I know what you're trying to do to me. You're not trying to do anything to me, Muse, because you, Muse, are awesome.